add it. I'm trying to get it up on Facebook.
All right. And it says that we are now live on Facebook. So good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How is everyone? Everybody good?
Yeah, we've got Darlene driving somewhere really beautiful because you can see the lovely sky and the trees. So that's nice. And Yvonne is joining us from Scotland, which is so lovely. And then we have Jazz.
Yes. And Jazz was in my class this week. So Jazz, I'm glad you came.
Nice. Hi, Jazz. Welcome. So good to have you.
Yes. And so everyone,
And you don't have to be on screen. If you don't want to be on screen, people, you don't have to be on screen. This is not a you need to be. It's just if you want to be, it's a great thing. And if you don't, no worries at all.
yes, absolutely. And if you have questions, you can, raise your hand. You can put it in chat. You can just come back on screen and wait for an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the same with everybody on Facebook. If you have questions, just drop them in the comments, and we're going to try to be watching for questions.
Yes, I have Facebook up and.
Excellent. I'm just getting mine up too, so we know who's here. And today's topic is grounding yourself with your breath during times of crisis or difficult times. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we also had some questions that came in, not last week, but the week before, and I forgot, so it's all my fault. But, I did reach out to the woman who asked these questions, Kathy, and briefly explained them. But then I thought, if she had these questions, it's a good chance that other people do too. So I thought it would be good just to kind of go over some of those before we really get into our topic. And the first question, she said, I offered 4 30-minute distant Reiki sessions to a friend and her cat. And during the first session, her cat stayed in the room with her the entire time, but she said the cat seemed hyper alert and sensitive to noises outside. Any thoughts on this behavior? It did not sound like the cat was resting. Overall, my friend and the cat were very pleased with the sessions, but the cat didn't show the kind of behaviors that she had seen when she worked with a couple of dogs previously. She did say that the cat snuggled with the owner during the session and purred. So I think that's a great way to start. And Leah, I'm going to let a couple people in. Kelly's here and Sally. So if you kind of want to comment on that first.
Yeah, I think that the important thing to remember when we're offering a distant session and we're holding space for animals distantly, we have to let go of our expectations. So first of all, I don't know if the animal knew Kathy at all. So we have to remember that, energy, it's like we're actually there. Our energy is connecting. The cat might not have known what to expect, especially if it was their very first session. Hey, Sally. And so we have to be really open when we're offering distant Reiki, that we can't be attached to how this is supposed to look or what the outcome is supposed to be. It's just we're offering this energy, this energetic support, and we have to trust that the animals feel it. Now, they may not want to accept it. If you were in a shelter with that cat may not accept it at all. But if you went back the second day, he might be a little more receptive, the third day more receptive, and the fourth day more receptive. But again, when they're at home with their person and you're not there and you can't observe what's going on, you have to trust that the person is going to relate everything to you. And a lot of times the experience is the person doesn't relate everything to you. So an experienced animal Reiki practitioner may start asking questions. Well, did the cat get up and take a drink? Did the cat seem relaxed? Did the cat relax after the session? Because a lot of times after the session is where you have a deeper relaxation. So there's things that we can ask as practitioners, but really letting go of the outcome. Because what happens is when we get attached to how it should look, like how, when we read, oh, the animal should be yawning, relaxing, sleeping, and it's not happening, then we're like, oh, it didn't work. That's not what's happening. We have to allow everybody to take it differently. So like, sometimes when I go to get a massage, I want to talk. Or like when I get acupuncture, I want to talk. And that's not normal. The acupuncturists are always like, oh, you want to talk? And it's like, yeah, I want to talk. So, and so we've really got to like let go of what's happening and just know and trust that our light has shined and connected with theirs. And in that space, healing can happen. And a lot of times healing might happen later on too. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
Right. I think that's a really good point. We have to learn to let go of what it's supposed to look like. And it can be different for every animal. Every animal has their own personality. Every species is different. You could be talking about prey animals. You could be talking about predators. They're all going to behave a little bit differently. And there really is no one right way for an animal to behave in a animal Reiki session. This is their session, and they are going to determine how they respond to it. So there's signs, yes, that we look for that kind of indicate to us that they're relaxing, but we can't get too caught up in that, because it's kind of like the hand positions. When you first start, if you're working on people and you're learning hand positions, you're so focused that these hand positions have to be right here, that that's your intention and your focus. But if you can let go of that, then you'll be guided to where you need to be guided to. And so it's the same with the animals. We have to let go of how we think they should respond, because that's just our ego, our opinion, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with the truth. And we are interpreting, remember, we are interpreting their reactions. So if they yawn and fall asleep, we think, oh, well, that's relaxation. Well, why is that relaxation? It's relaxation because that's what we have learned to recognize as relaxation. Maybe if the cat's up there making a little noise, maybe that's relaxation. But we look at that behavior and say, well, in our world, that looks like they're being hypersensitive. So it's a communication. It's like a different language. And so we can misinterpret, just like the Japanese language, right? When it's written, how easily that can be misinterpreted because it has more than one meaning. It's kind of that way with our animals, I think.
Yeah, it's our perception too. We have to remember it's our perception. So Kelly's here. Kelly is the director of the Shelter Animal Reiki Association. So I don't know if you had anything to add about that, Kelly, because you have a lot of experience with distant treatments.
Oh, we're talking distant. I caught you a little late. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
I was, same thing. I just say, tell people to follow, just keep an eye on the animal, and a lot might not happen in the first session and that sort of thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, but why don't you
to be late?
I don't know. That's fine. Why don't you read the statement, Jamie, and that way Kelly can kind of get better background.
Okay, so we had this question that came in, and this woman offered 4 30-minute distant Reiki sessions to a friend and her cat. And during the first session, her cat stayed in the room with her the entire time, but she said the cat seemed hyper alert and sensitive to noises outside. It did not sound like the cat was resting. Overall, my friend and the cat were very pleased with the sessions, but the cat didn't show the resting behaviors I saw in 2 dogs and owners that I offered Reiki to previously. The cat did snuggle with the owner during the sessions and purr. And a follow-up was that the cat's appetite improved since the Reiki session.
Yeah. I agree with everything you guys are saying. It does look different for different animals. And that I feel that animals can still receive even though they're active, because we see that with dogs. Where dogs are, moving around during a session if we're in person, and then all of a sudden they'll come over. So I feel like they're also receiving if that's what they choose. And I think something else that you were talking about, Jamie, struck me was like, how it can be, we can think like, oh, well, they're sleeping and so they're relaxed. But then we also, in the fear-free training, we heard that cats often will retreat by sleeping in their, when they're fearful. And yawning too is not always a sign of relaxation, which is how I saw it in the beginning. And so really, I think the important thing in the sessions is there were 4 distant sessions, which gives time for the animal and the person, especially to see the changes occur. And I'm not sure what this person did, but I always let them know that it may not be really obvious, right? After the first session, especially. And so that's why I try to get people to do more than one. But also just, the follow-up on that shows that obviously Reiki was working. And so in two, like, just like when we are in person, we could offer, do a distant session. And if that animal is not interested that time, or they're maybe just, maybe that cat was active because it was sort of assessing what was going on. And it wasn't, just like, okay, there's Reiki, boom, if it had never had Reiki before, it might need an opportunity to just kind of, scope it out a little. And then the next day was more receptive. And I've seen that quite a bit in person, and that happens in distant sessions as well, that, the animal is unfamiliar, it's something new for them. And the way this, that we're offering this energy, and then they all of a sudden are like, oh, okay, this is safe, this is comfortable, I like it, I want more.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So hopefully that answers Kathy's question. Really, before we go to the next question, I would just want to say, does anyone have to leave early? Because if you have to leave like in a few minutes or something, just let us know and we'll call on you, because we can obviously address these. So I don't know, Sally and Yvonne, I know it's later for you, if either one of you need to leave earlier than the bottom of the hour or anything.
I'm okay.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yvonne?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks, Leah.
Okay, great. All right. But if anyone, if you have to leave, just you can raise your hand or you could put it in chat. Just let us know and then we can call on you. So let's go on.
All right. So we had another question. A friend has a bird. She couldn't recall the type and was interested in having a Reiki session. Is there anything special I should know about offering Reiki to birds in a cage, or specific behaviors the owner might notice? And I do have a friend, and she's actually watching on Facebook, who had several parrots. It was my first, because of her, I really got introduced to parrots. She had one she adopted, rescued. He'd been through kind of a rough time, and because of that, he plucked. He had a very bad plucking habit. So she would bring him over in a little travel cage, and I would offer him Reiki and some color light therapy and some other things. But what I've found with birds, well, they're fascinating because they see energy. Before they see you, they're going to see your energy. They're also prey animals. So when you approach a bird, like in a cage, that's their safe place. They feel really safe in there most of the time, unless, there's other things going on. But a healthy bird who's well taken care of and loved in his cage, that's going to be where he feels safe. But if you come in and go right up to the cage and look in there, remember, you're like a predator looking at this animal, and that's going to freak them out, or it might make them mad. It depends how big the parrot is. Now I have a little budgie, so he's small. She had some big parrots, and you do that and they might just reach out there and get you, and they can really hurt. They can clamp down. The best thing to do is always, even if you're, in the room, they're in their cage, even if they're not, if they're a big parrot that, can sit on a stand, don't go right up to them. Just sit in a chair, get yourself down, in a lower position, sit in a chair, turn sideways. So like if you were the bird, I would be like this. So I wouldn't be looking directly at it. And then I would just begin to meditate. And birds usually, for a bird just to stop and go to sleep, like, we think of with dogs or some other animals, very unusual. Now, they may do that momentarily, but they tend to, the ones I've worked with, they tend to sing, they tend to explore, they tend to move around. Then they might stop for a little while, but it won't be as long as what we're used to with other animals. Then they'll start moving again, then they might stop again. So with birds, I think gentle, and we always say give animals their space and let them lead. But you really have to be extremely careful with birds as far as, offering this energy, and your body position and how you're presenting your physical self becomes really important. Oops, you're muted, Leah.
I know. Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. It's kind of like how you would do any animal you don't know. You don't go rushing up to them. You don't like put yourself, your energy, everything into them. We always show respect. The birds that care, they're like cockatoos and parrots and I don't know, big birds. They're huge, and they're so funny. And most of them are domesticated, so they're not afraid of humans. But when we were doing the class, the Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioners class this last February, there we did one part of the class where we were doing meditations, and it was right in front of these three big cockatoos, and are not, what's the other word? Not cockatoo, but they look like parrots, but they're not parrots, but they're huge, but they look like them. But anyway, so there's three of them, and they're usually pretty loud and noisy, and they were, but when we did the meditation, they calmed down and they just stared at us. And sometimes they would clean and they would just stare, but you could tell they were soaking it up. They were like really enjoying it, and they were quiet, and they would just kind of chirp a little and kind of close their eyes a little sometimes, but they were very engaged in it. And then when we ended, we were, talking and we were laughing, and then they started to mock us. They started to go, hee, 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 that's funny. Hee, 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 hee. Oh, that's funny. Hee, hee, hee. But they were like mocking us. And it was the funniest. I've never seen them do. I've gone to care for 11 years and never seen them do that. And it was hysterical. But, during the meditation, everything, they were completely quiet, but they are usually not like, rah, rah, rah. And then the yellow one, the big cockatoos, those are cockatoos. They always start to scream and yell, and they were very calm. So, with birds, I think that just being quiet, and when they quiet down, that's an acceptance. I mean, it's a simple thing. If they quiet down, and they slow down, like they can still move, but if they're doing it slowly, because these birds that were doing the meditation, they were still moving a little bit, but it was very slow. Like instead of like going along the fence, because they have like fencing and they climb it and everything, and usually they're really fast. They were just kind of like move a little bit, and then they listen, and then they might move a little closer. Because one of them, they were all three separate, and then two of them came together at some point, but you couldn't even see or feel it because it was so slow. And so that's another, in my opinion. I don't know if Kelly, if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, actually, I had the same experience with parakeets at the shelter, and I was in front of the cage, but I was farther back, and there were one on each end of the bar across the cage, and so I was just in my meditation, and they were on each end, and when I opened my eyes, they had gotten together right in front of me, and they're just like sitting there. I don't get to work with birds as much. Sometimes they hit the window, and I'll sit nearby and offer Reiki, and but yeah, I also had the experience with the birds at care when I went there for World Animal Reiki Day with my husband, and one of them kept saying, "Hello, George. Hello, George." My husband's name is not George, but it was funny. But yeah, they're really interesting to work with. And occasionally we have them come into the shelter, and I get that opportunity.
Yeah, the birds at here are so loud when they get riled up. But it's really interesting because they're show birds. They know how to, like, do eagle, and they open up and they hang upside down and they say pretty girl, and hello George. But when we do the Reiki, and not to, with them, it's not like we're focusing on them. We're just like maybe doing a chair treatment on each other, or we're just sitting and holding space. They quiet way down to nothing, and the whole property quiets down. And it's like there's geese, there's farm animals. The property is really loud, but when we start to meditate, the property goes completely silent, and that includes wild birds that are flying around. So you hear birds, you hear them calling to each other, and everything's silent. So those birds are supporting this space too. I remember there was a buzzard this last time, and he slowed way down while we were doing this group meditation in a circle. He was flying over and he came low, and he was just slowing way down. Now, I don't think he was trying to see. I think he was really enjoying the energy of it. It wasn't like there was something dead on the ground or something, because they won't do that when there's a bunch of people. But he was just flying low, and you could tell he was enjoying that. So really just being open to what may happen. But for one that's in a house, I think that, like you said, Jamie, going sideways, don't approach them, close your eyes, and just be.
Right. And I had a student a few years ago who was a veterinarian, and she wrote me a beautiful little message one day because a bird had flown into the window. So she went into vet mode, and she went rushing out there, and she was going to pick it up and see, because it was stunned, knocked out. And she was going to pick it up and see how she could help it. And she said, but I stopped. And I just began to offer Reiki. And she offered Reiki, meditated for about 20 minutes. And then the bird kind of shook it off and flew up to a limb and started to sing her a song.
Oh.
So, it was like, definitely, even though you might say, well, the bird just came out of it, it would have done that anyway. Maybe we don't know.
So sometimes they fly away.
Yeah, and sometimes they fly away right away. We just don't know. But obviously, the bird appreciated what she did for it, because it flew up there and definitely, looked at her and sang her that song.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. And Lynn, who's on Facebook, she said, birds fly in bubbles of light. Even when they flick together, they become as one energy. Beautiful to watch. Birds are here purely to send out unconditional love. They are I think sounds of the universe, I guess. I think is what she said. And she said, I love birds. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so sweet, Lynn. I love that.
And we have
beautiful.
Right. We have a comment in chat. Sally asked, and Sally, do you just want to come on and ask that?
Sorry. It was just in relation to, I'd like to volunteer some Reiki with a sanctuary that's not actually close to me, but I just wondered, with chickens, if we're talking about birds, do you, if you're talking to somebody about setup, do you say, actually, no, I'm just going to go into the field and I'm just going to hold a Reiki space and see what happens? Or do you say, can you have them in a hutch, or, what is generally done?
Did you want to take that, Jamie?
That's a great question, because I do go to a ranch frequently with my classes. That's where we go. It's farm animals. There's ducks, there's chickens, pigs, you name it. And when I go out, I just go out in the pasture with them, or wherever they are. And I just sit down and I begin my meditation. They're invited to join in if they want, totally up to them. And you see them respond all the time. So I don't request that, they be put any place special. I just go into their home. They're gracious enough to allow that, and begin to meditate. and they will respond.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know, I second that, because when and again, like at care, there's all kinds of farm animals, and they are caged. You know, a lot of them are caged and they aren't running free. And when we just sit and we're just being that light, like we learned this morning, Sally, you know, you're just being the light, then everything starts to just calm down. And the chickens still kind of move around, but you can tell they are taking it in. And so really, you know, our whole thing is we never confine animals. We never like cross tie horses or say, okay, let's take this dog or this cat and put it in this cage or hold them or anything like that. We don't want to restrict their movement. And that's really where the power of this practice is because we don't restrict movement. And the animals respond so positively because they are given that freedom, right? Because we come and we say, hey, let animals lead. And then if we don't really truly do that, and they're like, okay, really? Because you just told me I have choice, and now you're telling me I don't have choice. So, and you'll be surprised. And I think that the people that where you go to do this, you know, they appreciate it too. Because one time I was going to a horse rescue. It was a very private horse rescue. There was only 6 horses there, and the only reason I got in is because I was friends with the guy who owned this horse rescue, and he was very protective of his horses. And so one of the horses was cribbing on the fence, and he wanted to know if this would help it. And so I said, yeah, okay. And so I was sitting outside his stall and just with my back turned and started meditating. He goes, oh, don't you want to go in with him? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, what's he gonna go? I go, well, if he wants to join me energetically, then great. And if not, that's his choice. And Sam, the owner, was like, oh my God. And so then he wanted to learn it. And then we learned it, and we had some incredible experiences out there. But it's really when we give animals choice and we show others the power of that, then it's like we're not only helping the animal, we're helping the person too.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Great
I don't know.
question, though.
Yeah, that is a really great question. I don't know, Kelly, if you want to add something to that as well.
Yeah, same. Usually I just sit around in the chicken area or the duck. There are a lot of ducks and geese where I practice, where I go up to the sanctuary, and they don't have any chickens, I don't think. Oh no, they had a rooster. Yeah, they have some chickens. But anyway, so I just, same as Jamie, sit out there and let them just mill around. And some of them are really into it, and some of them are kind of like, yeah, whatever, you know. So just creating that space for them to enjoy whatever they want.
Don't you think they're like horses though too, Kelly? Like, you know, like horses, sometimes they'll still keep grazing, but they are accepting it, you know. And I think that chickens, because they're always on the move, it might be the same. Like, we don't know, you know, we can't say, oh, this is what's always going to happen. But when you were saying that, it really brought to mind horses. And I didn't know if we would thought about that.
Yeah, chickens, yeah, because they're pecking around, but they're in this vicinity. And so they're so skittish often that they'll just take off if there's something that they're uncomfortable with. So just like horses, I used to teach in an alpaca farm, the same thing. The alpacas were the best teachers, because if the students moved too quickly or anything, they would just scatter, you know. But if we were peaceful and calm, they would all just come around and hang out, you know, sometimes behind us or next to us.
I do have to say one thing when I was talking about what Lynn wrote, and of course I'm reading it, and I said, birds fly in bubbles of light even when they flick together. It's when they flock together. And that was my mistake, Lynn. If I had my brain on this morning, I would have caught that. So I apologize for that.
You know, and I just wanted to add that whenever an animal is eating, they're usually happy. You know, that's a happy place for an animal. A horse who grazes, they're happy. Chickens are pecking and moving around, they're happy. If they're stressed or afraid, you know, that flight mode kicks in and they're not eating. They're trying to save their life and they're afraid. So if the chickens are up pecking around and just moving around and looking for food, I'd say that's a pretty good sign because they're in a happy place.
And I love that you just said that, because we touched on this a little bit earlier in class, but we always act like we're doing something so serious. Like, this is such a serious thing that we're doing. And it's a joyful experience. Like, isn't that what we want? Isn't that our like outcome, that we want these animals to feel happy and loved and accepted? Yet when we go in, it's like, okay, I've got to be so serious. And is everybody else being serious with me? Because, oh, they're eating. Oh, that isn't serious. That's, oh, are they not taking it? You know what I mean? We get so heavy when really this is about love and expansion and gratitude and joy. So really, if you go in there, if you find yourself doing that, the easiest way is, either doing the smiling meditation that we can walk everybody through. I think Yvonne and Sally know that one, but and Darlene, but also just having gratitude. Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for accepting me in, your space. And that simple thing brings a lot of joy. So we have to remember that what we're doing isn't this, I'm so serious. It's really just, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. But what, we in our minds, it's like, meditation's serious. We're usually like calm, or usually not, there's no smiling. And then when we're happy and active, then we're smiling. But really, we can combine the two and have this beautiful space of love and joy together. So, I want to highlight that, because a lot of times we're like, oh yeah, but no, it's happy. And like you said, Jamie, they eat when they're happy. I eat when I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm happy.
That's a great point, because we do take Animal Reiki so seriously. And the animals will remind us, that we really should have fun. So I just want to share this story. I went out with a student it's a farm sanctuary. Hey, guys. Come here. And so we were out there. They have emus. And there was 2 emus, Oscar, Bella. The neighbors, oh my gosh, had the nerve to drive by. I'm so sorry. And we were out in a field. We had been meditating quite a bit of, most of the day. So we're sitting on this log, and all of a sudden, here come the emus. And they came from quite a ways away. And they started to circle us. And if you know emus, they kind of do this at you, they're like doing that. And so they're going near us. And I would look, and there'd be one like right behind me doing this, and they just circled us. And I was kind of worried about my student, but she had worked with wildlife. She had a lot of animal experience. So I looked at her, I said, I'm really glad that you have the experience that you do right now, because some people would be freaked out. And she's like, well, this is a little terrifying and funny at the same time. And then we just started laughing, and we were laughing so hard, and they're just going around doing this, and she fell off the log. Let me shut these guys.
That is such a funny story.
So yeah, and it was just like, she's like, I think we're being initiated into their family or something. We didn't know what was going on, and we laughed and laughed. I haven't laughed that hard in any time, especially an Animal Reiki session. It was just full on joy from these emus.
Well, it was just like when the cockatoos, I'll just call them cockatoos, the big birds that care, were making fun of us as we were walking away. I mean, it just like brings some levity and lightness to it, because they were feeling good. And I have never heard those birds talk in 11 years. They'll like squawk and stuff, but they don't say words. And they're like, you're funny. You're funny. Just mocking our laughter. It was the funniest thing. Oh my gosh. So yeah, lots of animals bring us lots of levity.
Yes.
So do we have another question, or should we open it up?
I think we can open it up. Anybody have any questions, whether you're on Facebook, just type them in, or here with us on Zoom. Yvonne, that's such a crucial point, Leah. Thank you for the reminder, as we too often get hit up on making sure we are, or caught up on making sure we're doing it right.
Yeah, it's true. And then our minds get involved, like our egos get involved, our, oh, it should look like this. And then we start to doubt what's happening. And then what happens, like, can you imagine if you were sitting with a friend, and the friend like did this beautiful Reiki session with you, right? And you're like, oh, feeling so good. And then she was like, oh, I don't think that was very good. I actually, oh my gosh, you know what? You're really supposed to respond by this, and you didn't. And, and animals, our energy, even though we're not in the room with them, our energy, we're connected to them. They're feeling that. And so can you imagine, you'd be like, what? Well, why are you crapping all over my beautiful session that you just did, right? So we have to be really mindful of that. I know it sounds silly, but it's really something like animals, they are so connected in that energetic space. And when we connect, we are connected. And when we think about them, they feel that connection. So can you imagine, like, if we are connected with them and we're saying, yeah, it really wasn't that great, we're kind of taking away from the experience and the beauty of that space that we created. Oh, so Yvonne wants to say something. Hey, Yvonne.
Hey, thank you. Excuse me putting my camera off. I was just having dinner and didn't think you'd appreciate that view. So yeah, I guess I've got 2 injured animals at the moment. One cat's recovering from pancreatitis, and thankfully she's much better. And a dog who sliced her paw last week. And I've been obviously giving Reiki to both. And I know we spoke before about the difference in when I was sending Reiki to the cat when she was down at the specialist hospital, the vet hospital, and it made such a difference. But I find just what you're talking about there, I find that I get a little bit hit up on, well, I've given Reiki and your paw's still split, or, you're still not well. And I suppose I know we need to kind of let go of expectation, but I guess it's sort of remembering that we're not going to see a difference. We may not even see a difference at all, and it's accepting that we do make a difference without actually physically seeing anything. But I guess I'm not very good at getting into the habit of doing Reiki every day. When the cat was down at the vet hospital, I was doing it probably hourly, but now she's here, and I suppose and she's so much better. And the dog's paw's bandaged up. I kind of think, well, I'll send Reiki, or I'll give Reiki, I'll open that Reiki space. And then I don't know if it's because I'm seeing they're still injured, oblique, unwell, or getting better, that I think, I don't know, I suppose I get out of the way and forget to do it regularly. So I don't even know if that makes sense. I'm conscious I'm kind of waffling a wee bit, but is there a way of, I suppose there's not really a way of letting go of that expectation other than letting it go, of remembering to get into that, to send that Reiki every day, or go into that space every day and make a habit of it?
Yeah, well, so one of the things is changing the whole mindset of I'm sending instead of I'm just sharing. So really just go in and meditate for yourself. Go in and feel what's going on up here, and then let your energy go out. Because, the reason it's really hard with our own animals is we have a lot of attachment. We have a lot of attachment to how this is going to look, what's going to happen. So one thing you can do is ask somebody else to send Reiki to your dog, which is a great thing to do, and your cat, if she's still recovering. But another thing is to just go inward, because your energy goes outward. And, something that might be happening is they might not be healing because you're stressed. So it creates an energy of stress, right? And they can't heal in that energy of stress. So when we can just go, okay, I'm going to let that go and just go inward and put hands on myself and do the precepts for myself, that can make a huge shift in what's happening. Because again, you're thinking, I'm sending Reiki, this Reiki is supposed to be, instead of I'm offering Reiki to support whatever that looks like to you, right? There could be a lot of reasons his paw isn't healing. I mean, you're not a healer, remember? We're not healers. We hold space. So when you can let go of that expectation, you might start to see, I'm not trying to come down on you either, Yvonne. That's a totally natural. We all go through it. I go through it. Kelly goes through it. Jamie goes through it. We've been doing it for years. It's hard not to that's why we have to do the precepts every single day, multiple times a day, to let go of that ego, to become more humble, to know that it's not our path, but what we can do is just create that beautiful space. We're all one. So our stress is their stress, right? Their illness is our illness. So if we can just go inward and start focusing on here, it will go outward. We are all connected, and it will all, like the cat, everyone starts to benefit from you going inward to yourself. So I don't know if Jamie or Kelly want to add to that.
Kelly was shaking her head, so I'd like
Kelly has to say. I would just add, you can go ahead, Jamie.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to find my mute thing. So as a practical thing, you could try even just putting it in your planner or your calendar, at a certain time, if you do your meditation every day, and try to be more specific that way. But it does, Leah's absolutely right. I mean, that happens to all of us. And also, it's funny, it's almost like as we see you do it for a while and we're like, nothing's really happening. And then there's something, I think, in our mind that just kind of is like, okay, I'm not gonna, it's not going to be in the forefront of my mind anymore. Sort of subconscious recognition that, or thought that it's not working, right? And any kind of support we can give is so valuable, even though we don't see it happening in the way that we may have envisioned. And but I find if I can just when I have specific animals, maybe at Rutland County Humane Society, that need Reiki, when I'm, it's sort of like out of sight, out of mind. And so for me to write it down and just make sure that I've, got that animal in my list, or a person or whatever, it's a little easier to keep it up. But Leah's right. I mean, absolutely anything when we're expanding that beautiful energy, it's connecting with anyone who's in need.
Right.
I mean, I've had times when I'm in the grocery store and all of a sudden I'm feeling like something's happening here. There's some energy being coming out of me, or somebody's tapping in or whatever. And I think on that subconscious level that we know where we can get help. And so, it's usually probably some young mother with a bunch of kids and full grocery cart or whatever, and the kids are crying. I don't know, but it's just really interesting how sometimes you can feel that energy just really beginning to flow, even though we haven't consciously made that decision to, sit and do a session.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful, actually. And thanks for the reminder, Leah, because I have to say, every time I've done sessions with you, I'm always really motivated and remember. I just need you to sit on my shoulder, I think, or sit in my pocket or something, because when we go away, it's like so easy to forget. And I forget that Reiki's for me too. And I think in my mind, Reiki's for the animals. And until you said it there, I didn't even take that into consideration. So I think that's a really valuable point to remember. And yeah, thank you for that.
Well, it's a really important question because we all go through it. I mean, we've been doing this for years and years and years, and we all go through that same exact thing. An animal's dying, and what do? Start crying and getting all out of my face. And here I am teaching people, you've really got to be more, Zen. You really got to go inward. And then meanwhile, I'm like, it's just, but that's why we have this community, right? So that we can support each other, and so we can remind each other it's okay. Everything's going to be right. And then you can go, okay, yeah, that's right. I can do this. And that's what I love about, the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, that community of people together, because we are there for each other, and we remind each other and say, you're not alone. And there's the healing, it's the Animal Reiki Healing Circle on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, anybody can go on there and add their animals for healing. And that way you can kind of let it go, because there's thousands of people on that group. And I'll put that in the chat. But when you let go and just put it out there to them, then you can just work on yourself and not worry. You can know, because people respond, and even people who don't respond, they're still, sending, I don't always respond, but then I'll add that animal to my session. So that's another, and I'll look it up right now and put it in the chat for everyone.
And I loved what Leah just did as she was speaking, and she said that, and sometimes she still gets, wound up, and she said, so then I go, and she took a breath, which is kind of what our topic was. We won't spend a lot of time on it, because questions, I love answering everyone's questions and bringing this up for the group. But does anybody else have any other questions that they would like addressed? I don't see any hands going up. If you think of them, just, get our attention.
And I'm going to put this is the Animal Reiki source. So this is Kathleen Prasad's group. It is a private group. You have to be let in, but we allow everybody in. We just want to make sure that you're not like a bot or, a troll or something, because we do get those occasionally. But you can go in there and you can put people in there. You can put animals that are your own or animals that are other people's, but it's a really beautiful group. And then you too can go on there if you want to practice and really help support the animals. So it's a wonderful group, and I highly encourage everyone to go on there and just get added, so that when situations like this, like you may not ever visit it, but then when a situation comes up with your own animal or a good friend's animal, then you can put that in there. So what's our topic for today?
Our topic was breath and how it grounds us in times of crisis or difficult times. And that's why I loved what Leah did, where you could just see her take that breath and she calmed down. And, you know, well, I think
you can see what happened with my dog when I got all meh, and she's like, okay, I've had enough. You were all calm, and now she wanted to get off. It was like, no. My one breath wasn't good enough.
She's like, no, Mom, I know how you are. No, one isn't going to cut it. And, you know, we practice this in the system of Reiki. You know, we practice our breath and we focus on that and we work on that. But it doesn't just have to be when we're meditating, when we're offering Reiki to an animal. It can be in our daily life when we feel ourselves, something happens and we feel ourselves being triggered. And in an instant, we can remember, take that breath. Because what happens when you take a slow, deep breath? Everything slows down, you know, and they have studied this. Researchers have studied how powerful our breath is. Our heart rate slows down, and it gives our mind a chance to slow down, because when we're upset and our mind's going like that, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't make very good decisions. And I sometimes say things I wish I hadn't said. But if I can just take that second, it's all it takes is a second or two to take that breath, slow down and catch myself and recognize that, you know, I am about to become ungrounded and do something I'll probably have to apologize for later, or that I will regret. It's just really powerful. And we don't have to be sitting, meditating to use the power of our breath. It's with us all the time.
No, I agree. And sometimes it's not even like you're going to say something. Sometimes it's somebody's coming at us and we feel really overwhelmed and we feel kind of cornered, and they're saying things to us that for whatever reason we can't respond. We can't find the words, we can't find whatever it is, but we feel really trapped. That's another time where we can just stop and go, okay, I feel myself becoming paralyzed here. And now I need to just stop and take a breath, because when we take that breath, like you said, Jamie, our minds slow down. And so, you know, we live in beta, but when we're in high beta, science has proven that we can't think clearly. So you can't even make rational, clear judgment calls when you're feeling stressed and out of control, whether it's because you're going to say something or you're yelling at somebody or someone is yelling at you, which happens a lot nowadays after COVID or during COVID. You know, people are really tense and they're really on, like, they're just ready to yell at you for whatever reason. So if you find yourself in those situations, it's really best to just do that breath. And when we do that breath, where our focus goes, our mind goes, our energy goes, right? So you're focused on that breath. Now your mind goes to that breath. The breath is long and slow. Your mind immediately follows that as well. Your energy follows that as well. So now you've taken your mind, your breath, and your energy, and you're slowing it all down. Now you can then go, okay, whatever is happening, it's not mine, it's someone else's, right? We can have that, we can bring in the compassion. But when we're in that high theta and we are just, we can't. But the magic, like Jamie said, you have your breath, no matter where you are, whatever you're doing, your breath is always there. So it's really important. Big, deep belly breaths, pulling that breath in through your nose and down into your belly and expanding that belly so that you just really have a process here. And then I always like that all is well mantra. Yeah, and Yvonne says it's infectious. I automatically slow my breathing just hearing you talk about it. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I don't know what you want to add to that, Kelly.
Well, for a basic level 1 practice, it's the thing I do the most, the breathing into the hara, and just bringing all that energy down from my head and grounding it in my lower hara. And yeah, I use it all the time when I'm nervous, or before, if I have to do a class or a talk or anything like that. It's just a way to I can feel everything just sort of draining out of my body, all that tension and discomfort. And the thing that's beautiful about it is we can do it without anybody even knowing, right? We're always, it's what we do anyway. We're breathing all the time, but when we're focused on our breath, we can really make a difference with ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it just gives us an opportunity to just let everything settle down. And I don't know how many of you do chair sessions or Reiki on people, but I could, like, when I have my hands on somebody's shoulders and I ask them to take a couple of those breaths before we get started, I can feel them just starting to settle and the shoulders drop and everything. And so, it's a beautiful practice because we get focus from it, we get clarity, we get relaxation, we relieve stress, we relieve tension in the body. I mean, so many benefits that we get just simply by focusing on that breath. And you don't have to do that many. And 2 or 3, and you're in that space, like Jamie was said, it doesn't take long at all. And not only that, it's something that we can bring with us throughout the day. We always have it. And then I think Yvonne was saying, just automatically you get, you feel that when somebody else is doing it, you're just feeling that. And here we are on Zoom, but when you're around people and you're bringing that energy level down and that tension down and that stress down, the animals feel it, people around you feel it. It's just a beautiful thing.
It's contagious. I had to write that down because, Jamie and I are working on a new manual for meditation with animals. And so that was, something when you get ready to go into a presentation, like there's so many different ways where we can use that breath to really just slow us down. If we're doing something difficult, just slowing down that breath and reminding ourselves, all is well and everything is okay, right? And so I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's why we have 3 of us talking right now, because, you get all kinds of different perspectives, but lots and lots of information.
And this is probably a great place. It's 11:24 to practice our meditation together, to close out this morning with a breathing meditation. So if everyone would just get comfortable, you want to have your spine as straight as you can, but not like stiff. Just be comfortable. And you can roll your shoulders to let go some of that tension in your neck. Take a couple of deep breaths just to let go of everything. And now go ahead and breathe in through your nose. Take a slow, deep breath in and just feel your breath travel down your body all the way down to your belly and just expand your belly. And then on the exhale, feel that breath and that energy come back up, go out through your skin, your hands, and into the space around you. Take another slow breath in, visualizing that you're breathing in this beautiful energy that travels down your body into the belly, the hara area. And then as you exhale, this energy comes back up and out into the space around you. Take another breath in, and you can visualize it as color or light. This energy, this breath traveling down your body to your hara, and really expand your belly. And then on the exhale, feel all this energy and breath go out into the space around you. Breathe in, filling your belly with this beautiful light and energy. And exhale out into the space around you. Breathe in and exhale out. With every exhale, this space grows larger and larger. just to continue to breathe in and out on your own now. And again, the space just grows larger. It fills the room you're in, the community you're in, the state, the planet, and even expands to the heavens. And it wraps the entire planet and all life in this beautiful light, like a blanket, comforting. And just sit in this space that you've created, allowing your breath to find a natural rhythm now. And bring your focus to your face, your cheeks, your eyes. Let them relax. And now slowly allow the muscles around your mouth to form a smile, and really notice the shift in energy. Notice how your energy changes as you smile, and hold that smile for a while. And now slowly release the smile and allow your mouth to relax. Notice how your energy feels at this moment. Notice the difference. And now allow a smile to come on your face slowly again, and really feel how it shifts your energy. And while we're in this space, let's dedicate the energy that we created in this meditation to all life on this planet, to the animals, to the people, to the countries. Let's dedicate this energy to peace so that everyone may live in peace. And now, if you'd like, you can put your hands in Gaso or the prayer position and give thanks. Give thanks to whoever may have joined you and to the Reiki itself. Then when you're ready, you can put your hands in your lap. Take a deep cleansing breath all the way down to the hara. Release it and allow yourself to come back into the room you're in. Notice your body. You can wiggle your toes and fingers and just come on back. And then when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes.
Thank you so much for that, Jamie. That was beautiful. I love that. And I think everybody else did too. Before we close, I just want to say, remember to be the light. We all have a beautiful light within us, and light always beats out darkness. And so I know that we have a lot of things going on in our world right now, and it's easy for us to get consumed by it and go to a dark place ourselves. But we have to remember that when we shine our light, we ignite the light in others, and light can beat what's happening right now. And so don't get overwhelmed by it. If you can, stay away from news and just always shine your light and love.
Thank you, Leah. That's beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We are going to be back at 4 o'clock today. If you know someone who couldn't make the morning session, or if somebody's listening on Facebook that couldn't make it, you can certainly join us this afternoon. And we thank all of you for being present with us.
Thank you, Lynn, for Lynn said beautiful meditation, and thank you, Lynn, for coming. We appreciate you coming on Facebook Live, and thank you, all of you, Sally and Yvonne. I know it's getting late for you, so thank you so much. That was so sweet of both of you to come. I really appreciate it. And Karen, thank you so much. We haven't met yet, so thank you for coming. And Jazz and Darlene. Darlene's with her little snake.
Yep. Working today, so cleaning snakes.
Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking the time. All right, ladies.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. See you at 4.
Bye.
Bye, Kelly.